provided, quote-unquote, Secret Service identification cards. Now, his account is that he provided the pins, the Secret Service pins.
Boutonnieres, they're called.
Okay. And that makes a hell of a lot more sense.
Yeah, the presidential detail, whereas
with the color.
This is what we inquired about when we, the Sunday that we were briefed to go protect Kennedy at the airport in Miami on the 18th. I'm waiting Bernardo Torres and Tony Fontana and Nick Navarro and Ernesto Aragon and a whole bunch of other intelligence people are telling me and Howard Davis, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And I got laying right beside me a photograph taken out in the Everglades where the older Santana brother is crouching and his younger brother is in a firing position with a carbine. And I got that photo from my guy in London. I hadn't seen it in years, but it was the older Santana brother that we were
Emilio?
cautioned about as being a threat to the president.
Emilio?
When are these guys going to tell us what time is the roll call? Is it going to be at Miami City PD headquarters, or is it going to be a block away in Dade County Sheriff's Office, or is it going to be at the airport? And at the roll call, that's where everybody sees your face and knows who you are, and the boutonnieres are issued. Well, since they didn't mention that, I felt a little bit uncomfortable, and that something wasn't right, and that they were going to put my people at risk, and my people had not done executive protection. I didn't want them carrying firearms, and not having boutonnieres, and not having attended the early morning roll call. Well, after that, George Davis, the FBI agent who I'd never dealt with before, and you remember George Davis and his partner Paul Schrand were the guys that dealt with Jose Ali Mann and his allegations earlier in '63 that there was going to be a hit on the president. Okay, so here's George Davis showing up at my apartment, and he starts off with the older Santana brother, because we know that the older and younger brother had gone inside on an operation, and we knew that the older brother was a double agent, and he'd gotten his own younger brother killed. That's the word we got back from inside Cuba. So then it switched over to Bayo. Eduardo Perez, a.k.a. Bayo, that was his war name. Raul Castro gave him that war name, so it's not Eddie Bayo. It's Eduardo Perez, a.k.a. Bayo, and brought Bayo up, and I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, Bayo has gone on the Poly operation that we helped set up, and has been turned around and has now come back inside and is a threat to the president. And this is what was discussed at the military intelligence briefing. Barely a reference to the Santana brother. The problem was the Santana boys and others were delivered to no-name Key by Cesar Diosdado, the customs agent who was a CIA agent using customs cover, and delivered to us wearing the Navy pea jackets and bell-bottom jeans. The jackets were stenciled in USS Oxford. Well, the Oxford was a Pueblo-type vessel, AGR, that had picked them up off the coast of Havana. And, of course, this was all arranged through Angleton. And then Diosdado was pissed off that he was told in Key West to deliver him to no-name Key and keep his mouth shut.
And I'm a little
This was during the missile crisis.
Thank you, because that's where I was wondering what time frame. Thank you.
Right in the middle of the missile crisis, and the Santana boys and the others unknowingly were bringing out microfilm and other stuff that was sewn into their clothing.
Now,
I'll just say sewn into their clothing because it's a trade craft thing on how it's done.
Now, was the Santana brother in Miami on the 18th?
We don't know. We never found out. But their attitude was, since we trained these guys and we lived with them, that if they
You'd recognize
arrest the president as he's coming off of Air Force One or whatever, we weren't even informed that the president was going to go make a speech. And when we saw what was going down, and that Sturgis was there, and Bernardo de Torres was there, and then all of a sudden there were a lot of Dade County deputy sheriffs in uniform and all that kind of stuff, and suddenly the Secret Service people had appeared. We got the hell out of there.
Yep.
We didn't want to hear the speech.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we were somewhat annoyed. My guys were really pissed off. They knew something funny was going on.
Were these guys, would they have been considered anti-Castro Cubans?
These are all my Americans.
Yeah, even though they have the Hispanic names with a Cuban background or not?
No, these are all crackers.
Oh.
Good old boys from Kentucky and Texas and shit like that.
And their names?
One from Canada didn't go because he was back in the country illegally. That was Bill Dempsey. He stayed at Joe Garman. He lived with Joe Garman at an apartment. They moved out of the Nellie Hamilton safe house.
I mean, because that certainly doesn't sound Hispanic, but a lot of the other names you were mentioning sounded...
No, the guys in the team that went to the airport was Howard Davis, me, Ed Collins, Dick Watley, Bobby Willis, Lynn Clark, let's see, Fat Ralph Grant Edens, and a couple, Alan Kennedy, and probably a couple others.
Okay, so that's where I was real confused, because so now those Hispanic names that you were mentioning, you rattled off, are those all the people that they were thinking may do something?
Well, when George Davis came to my apartment on Just Island, which is on the Miami River, he started the conversation that I would have to get a hold of Howard Davis, and we'd have to go down for a briefing at the Military Intelligence Covert headquarters in what is now Little Havana, for a briefing the next day, which was Sunday, 17th, because there was a problem with a threat to the president posed by some Cubans we had trained, and then he mentioned the Santana brothers and all that. Like, he didn't really know, like somebody had told him to say these things.
I got you. Okay.
And then when I asked for more detail, he started adding in that it could be Bayo, Eddie Ferris himself, or some of the people in the group that had gone in on Paulie's yacht, escorted by the wrecks, and had been captured and turned around, or had been double agents all along, and now they were back in Miami, and since we were the only ones that knew them, that could be trusted, you know, of course, Howard Davis to this day thinks that because of the wonderful things we did during the missile crisis, that they called upon us because we were the most trustworthy people in Miami or something, which I considered horseshit, considering what was in the files. I already knew it was in the files. And anybody in the Secret Service took a look at the files on us and would hear that we were going to get within 20 miles of the fucking president, would have had a goddamn aneurysm.
Now, this is going to sound like a stupid question, probably. Why?
Because of what was in the files.
What was in the files?
All derogatory shit.
Okay.
You haven't seen my file? You haven't read Weberman and...
Oh, sure. I've read all that. Yeah, but see, a lot of that stuff, honestly, I've dismissed, you know, because it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, a lot of it is covered, but what I'm saying is, outside the intelligence community, Secret Service, especially protective research, you know, knowing what we were going to be doing, would have asked to see the files, and the Bureau Field Office would have showed them the pink copies that they keep. And I was updated on those constantly, what was in the Miami files. And, of course, having anybody say anything good about you could get you killed.
Right. Okay. So the Secret Service would not have allowed...
The Secret Service pulling those files, they would have if they'd gone to Angleton's fucking office,
Gotcha.
they wouldn't have found anything favorable about me or my team.
I got you. So if they had actually been briefed on this for the right reasons, you never would have been picked for the team.
No.
Now I got you. All right.
Fuck no. It's not a matter of people think you are this or think you are that. Protective research, the hell the name protective research was secret until the 70s.
Yeah.
Nobody even knew of the existence of the protective research unit.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And every Secret Service office has a group of protective research people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they are the ones that are in charge of protecting the president.
Yeah.
They're the ones that have the liaison with the local law enforcement and who the mob is and who this is and all that kind of stuff, and help plan the routing of any movement. Winslow has a big problem. He goes catatonic whenever the subject comes up because for him to understand, even though he admitted to me there's a lot of theater involved when he says, well, he doesn't believe that we were there and all this kind of shit, or that Bernie Dore was there and what have you, and that Dore was lying to Larry King and also to Edward J. Epstein, et cetera, et cetera.
Looking at it, Bernie Dore would have been one of the people that you guys were supposed to ID if you saw him, or was he on your team?
He was in the briefing.
Okay.
He was in there in the fucking briefing. Okay? Now, in the book on the Letelier assassination, as I told you, it's called Labyrinth.
Yep.
Okay? By Gene Propper and Larry Barcella.
Let me interrupt so that I stay with you, please, okay, because I don't want to get lost. Let me make sure I'm getting this right. Are you saying that
he was an assassin at the time?
No. Hear me out, please, just so I make sure I get this clear. These other names that when I was trying to ask what their significance was, are you saying that they were present at the briefing with you?
Ernesto Aragon is a Secret Service agent. He's a CIA officer under the cover of a Secret Service agent. He wrote the majority of the Miami Secret Service reports on the JFK assassination to the Warren Commission. Okay. The others that wrote mostly was Jim O'Connor, FBI field agent, okay, out of the Miami office, okay. Tony Fontana was a Miami Police Department homicide detective, okay. Nick Navarro was a Cuban Federal Bureau of Narcotics agent, okay.
ATT?
And a guy that grew up with Felix Rodriguez was a shadow warrior.
Okay, now all these...
And later was elected sheriff of Broward County and appeared on the Cops TV program every fucking week.
Okay, so what I'm asking is, were those people at the briefing as well, and you guys were supposed to recognize them? Or am I
knew most of them.
No, I know you did. What I'm getting at is, what I'm missing is this. When you were saying that they wanted you to know who was who, do you mean at the airport?
They're being fucking briefed. They're standing there as goddamn government officials.
I'm on the same page now.
Okay, they're not being asked to go out there and protect the fucking president.
No, I understand.
They're part of a briefing. That's why I got goddamn annoyed with the son of a bitch.
Right, because well, I'm starting to understand.
People here.
Yeah, I got you.
Like, who the fuck are these people?
Yeah.
It's like stepping into a goddamn CIA fucking JM Wave office, you know? I didn't get along with them people. I didn't get along with fucking Morales or Glykoff or any of that goddamn crew.
But they
were being called in to assist in the protection of the President of the United States. And I'm thinking, well, a Secret Service guy, Aragon, he posed as a postal inspector trying to create some problems for Bob Brown, now Soldier Fortune publisher, okay? And I didn't like him, okay? But I knew him, and I knew Nick Navarro, but I had thought he was a snitch, not a special agent. I thought he was Gene Marshall, who was the bureau chief in Miami. Gene Marshall was the bureau chief in Miami for the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. Later, 2 months later, set up on a phony dope deal and sent to a mental hospital before the Warren Commission started.
I see.
And guess who? Gene Marshall, the bureau chief of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, who had busted the Guatemalan ambassador 4 years before in a heroin trafficking scheme. Guess who his apartment roommate was? Chuck Ashman, the lawyer, who was Hoffa's lawyer and close friend to Hoffa.
Well, you'd think this is a conspiracy if you didn't know better.
Well, I'm looking at this guy I think is a snitch, Nick Navarro, who I later learned is a special agent, and a government employee. I thought he was just a fucking informant. And I'm kind of looking at him, what the fuck is he doing in the room?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for having the patience to go over that with me again, because I knew I was missing something and I couldn't figure out what the hell it was.
Like I said, Winslow goes catatonic on it because he figures, holy shit, if it's real that a hit was going down in Miami, I mean, a lot of mysterious deaths have occurred, and he might talk in his sleep and have a fucking aneurysm or get run over by a beer truck, as my brother says. And that's how a lot of these people are. They're scared shitless.
Well, I can see why. I can also see, I understand how pissed off you could be over something like that.
Well, you start pushing around in certain corners, and there's people that firmly believe that they were part of something. They're going to protect themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
All righty.
I'll talk to you soon very much. Thank you so much.
We'll catch you later.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Bye. Position with a carbine, and I got that photo from my guy in London. I hadn't seen it in years, but it was the older Santana brother that we were
Emilio
cautioned about as being a threat to the president.
Emilio?
When are these guys going to tell us what time is the roll call? Is it going to be at Miami City PD headquarters, or is it going to be a block away in Dade County Sheriff's Office, or is it going to be at the airport? And at the roll call, that's where everybody sees your face. The Sunday that we were briefed to go protect Kennedy at the airport in Miami on the 18th, I'm waiting Bernardo Torres and Tony Fontana and Nick Navarro and Ernesto Aragon and a whole bunch of other intelligence people are telling me and Howard Davis, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And I got laying right beside me a photograph taken out in the Everglades where the older Santana brother is crouching and his younger brother is in a fire.
Holt's account isn't that he provided quote-unquote Secret Service identification cards. No, that his account is that he provided the pins, the Secret Service pins.
Boutonnieres, they're called.
Okay. And that makes a hell of a lot more sense.
Yeah, the presidential detail, whereas
with the color.
This is what we inquired about when we, before, and you remember, George Davis and his partner Paul Schrand were the guys that dealt with Jose Ali Mann and his allegations earlier in '63 that there was going to be a hit on the president. Okay, so here's George Davis showing up at my apartment, and he starts off with the older Santana brother, because we know that the older and younger brother had gone inside on an operation, and we knew that the older brother was a double agent, and he'd gotten his own younger brother killed. That's the word we got back from inside Cuba. So then it switched over to Bayo, knows who you are, and the boutonnieres are issued. Well, since they didn't mention that, I felt a little bit uncomfortable, and that something wasn't right, and that they were going to put my people at risk, and my people had not done executive protection. I didn't want them carrying firearms, and not having boutonnieres, and not having attended the early morning roll call.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after that, George Davis, the FBI agent, who I'd never dealt with